Good evening, everybody. My name is Todd Scholl. I serve as the lead learner of the South Carolina Education Association Center for Educator Wellness and Learning. We call ourselves Cool, and you can find out more about us at cool.us. That's CEWL.us. And lots of great things going on. I want to wish everybody a great start to Black History Month and hope that we are going to celebrate Black history all year round because it's really important. And I also want to say good luck to our team of cool coaches who are in Minnesota this week, working with other NEA affiliates to talk about our cool coaching program and our cool induction institute. So thanks to Dr. Marcella Weinsnyder, Angie Brush, and Stephanie Johnson for representing cool out there this week in Minnesota. For tonight, a couple of years ago, I'm going to tell you a story. A couple of years ago, Todd Jake, who's our executive director, came to me and said, Todd, who is a huge influencer in the education space in Horry County? I had been teaching in Horry County since 1995. I taught for 15 years. I was most of the time at Carolina Forest High School and really enjoyed my career as an Horry County school teacher. And over the couple of years after that, like when I started noticing, when I was on social media, I started noticing someone named Cori. She was Cori Canada at the time, Cori Porter now, and she was really outspoken and doing a really great job of advocating for educators here in Horry County. And so she was like one of the first people, and I went to Todd and I said, it'd be Cori. And so we reached out to her, Todd did, and we talked with her, and she has joined the movement at the SCEA, not only joined it, but ultimately became the president of our local. And for those of you who don't know, when you join the SCEA, basically you're joining an organization at three different levels. You are joining the National Education Association, the state, or the SCEA, and then you're joining your local. And for us in Horry County, that's the Horry County Education Association. Cori's already become the president. She's doing an amazing job leading here in Horry County. She's still in the classroom. And I talked to her. I said, will you come on and do a live stream and talk to folks about how to use your voice, like how to find the courage to use your voice? Because sometimes when you're the only one, it can feel scary. And I know she's been through that. So I wanted to bring her on to talk about her experience and help inspire teachers around South Carolina, even if you're the only one in your building, to find your voice and to use it. So without further ado, here is Cori Porter. How are you doing tonight, Cori?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Todd?
I'm good. Did I get your origin story at least remotely correct?
You did. That's correct.
Great. Well, welcome to the live stream tonight. And I do want to say thank you on behalf of all the teachers and parents and students here in Horry County. Thank you for your advocacy work. I think a lot of people noticed it and appreciate it. Let's first of all give folks a little bit of a bio for Cori. Like, what is your background in education? How did you get into it? Where do you teach, and how long you've been teaching, that kind of thing?
All right. So this is my 15th year teaching. I've taught second grade, kindergarten, and child development. I am currently teaching child development at Kingston Elementary. And I love it. I have a wonderful assistant. She's amazing. Personally, I have 3 children who are 13, 14, and 16. So that keeps me very busy also. Teenagers are fun. So teaching came to me, it kind of when I was an undergrad, I wanted to do music. I'm pretty musical. And I realized very quickly that I can talk in front of people a lot, but I cannot play a musical instrument. So I changed my major to early childhood, and I'll never forget the very first lesson that I taught was on the life cycle of a frog to a first grade classroom. And I loved it. I had so much fun. I called my mom when I was done and told her how much fun I had and that this is exactly what I was supposed to be doing. And it was just where I was meant to be. And I absolutely love teaching. Sorry about my dogs.
We were joking before Cori came on. We said her dogs have found their voice, and
Yes.
so we're gonna just roll with it. Go ahead.
This is my 15th year teaching. I came into the SCEA. I did South Carolina for Ed a few years ago, and then Todd called me and asked me to work with them. And the SCEA has just helped me really fine tune my voice and what I'm trying to present, what I'm trying to do in Horry County. And I love it. I love being the president. Horry County now has almost 30 building reps in 30 schools out of 52 schools, I think. And our membership is growing, and it's an amazing thing that we have. We're working to get this collective power going so we can actually create the change that is most definitely needed in Horry County and across the state.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, I'm not sure where the numbers stand right now, but there was a point this year where Horry County, I believe, was one of the top 5 fastest growing local affiliates of the NEA in the entire United States. I think I got that right. I'm not sure where that is now, but it continues to grow. So it's been explosive growth here in Horry County, and I really think, Cori, that you deserve a lot of the credit for that growth. So we really appreciate that. Talk about the importance of, there's other associations and they're just statewide. Talk about the importance of those 3 levels of, when you join us, why it's important to join an association as an educator at those 3 levels, and particularly the local.
So I'd like to share a story because as president, I can't even tell you the number of messages from teachers, paraprofessionals, cafeteria workers, bus drivers. I get messages constantly about one thing or another. So one of the greatest benefits of having that 3-level system with a local affiliate, a state, and a national. I had a teacher reach out to me, and it was a bad situation in her school, and she needed support. And there was a building rep in her building. And so I contacted the building rep, and we set up to have a meeting with principal and vice principal and HR. And what happened was this teacher was able to stand up for what needed to be said, have a representative with her to take notes and to protect her, and really just advocate for the students that were in her building. And to me, that's a huge win. And the meeting may not have ended the way we wanted it to, or, there's still maybe some things that needs to be worked on. But what happened is this person realized that they're not alone, and that we have this security behind us that says, hey, I can advocate for what is right, for what needs to be done, and I'm protected and I'm okay. I think that having that local affiliate gives you the local person, right? So if you have, there's other associations out there, but you have in every county almost in the state of South Carolina, you have a local president, and there's local issues that are specific to Horry County, they're specific to Oconee County, and that's where the executive board of the HCEA comes in. And then when things are out of my realm or out of our executive board realm, then we take it to the state level. And that happened just this past week. I had to call headquarters and say, hey, I need help with this. This isn't working. Like, this member needs help. And they were able to step in and help. And then the NEA just gives us that whole security. They're like the mama bear, right? So they give us this whole security that makes us feel like, yeah, we can do this. And it's okay that you do this.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important for people to understand. It's like, I hear these people say, well, I don't want to be a part of a national union. And I'm thinking, well, where do you think things like No Child Left Behind, Race to the Top, all of the, where do you think these things come from? They're not coming from the state house. They're not coming from your local school board. If we are not advocating at all three levels, we're missing out on a huge piece, because that stuff that happens in Washington, D.C., makes its way in terms of mandates and policies to South Carolina and then to your school. So and then of course, like you said, each local school and district has its own unique issues. So we can't just be looking at this from a South Carolina perspective. You also have to
Mhm.
drill down and look at it district by district, school by school. And that's why it's so important for us to organize structurally from the ground up.
Right.
This top-down model that we've had in education just has not served us well. And
Correct.
if we're going to create a bottom-up model, it's going to have to be created by educators, because the people at the top, the people at the top who are in charge, like at district offices and at the State Department, don't necessarily want to grow a grassroots movement empowering educators.
So I think you made a really good point, because if it's going to grow, it has to start with teachers in the building, because teachers in the we're on the front lines, and I know that that's like a cliche saying, but it's true. And I as president can't know what's happening in building A if no one comes to tell me. And so you have to start at the bottom and then work your way up, and then it builds and builds, and then we can make those national changes. But I want to say this, because there's a lot of times where teachers or paraprofessionals or educators in general come to me and they're like, well, this isn't changing. This isn't happening right now. This is, whatever. And change does not happen overnight. Like, it is teeny tiny baby steps. And then you're going to feel like you're going backwards, and then you're going to go forward again. And that's just the nature of doing what's right. Right. So if you're going to be in this advocacy role and you're going to stand up for what is right, you're always going to have that opposition. And it's going to feel like a lot of times you're banging your head against the wall. And there's been many times where I have felt like giving up. I'll just be honest. It's hard. It's not easy. And but I just remind myself that nothing worth doing is ever easy. And with how hard it is and all of those things, I just take a break, I take a breather, I step back, maybe take a break from social media for a couple weeks, and then I'm come back and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go again. So it's definitely got to be from the ground up.
Yeah. You're and the other thing too, I think people need to realize is you're going to take some L's. You're not going to
Yeah.
win every battle you have, but you can't win a battle if you never try. Like
Right.
if you already lay down your sword and just say, well, I give up. I'm just going to close the door to my classroom and hope things get better. I mean, that's a recipe for just you're just going to continue to be exploited, and the issues that you have are not going to get any better. A lot of times what I think people underestimate is I've used my voice to speak up about things when I was teaching in Horry County, and I won't say where, but when I was teaching in Horry County, sometimes I'd speak up and use my voice, and things would change immediately. They just didn't know. Leadership just didn't know that there were this many teachers who had this issue with it or problem, and just needed
Mhm.
to hear it. And nobody was speaking up. Everybody just kind of like complained behind closed doors, but nobody was
Right.
bringing it to the admin's attention. And then other times, you know, you just have to find ways to communicate and articulate the message. I remember one time Horry counties wanted to go to this thing where they were going to have cubicles for everybody, and nobody was going to have a classroom at the high school, maybe even at the middle school level. And everybody had to go to like a cubicle for their planning, and then kind of rotate around the classrooms where like you couldn't have your own classroom. And I wrote an op-ed piece for the newspaper. And then I don't know if it was that, but it suddenly went away. That
Mhm.
policy shift went away. People have to speak up. And you and I talked before we went on about the reason why people don't. And I really think it's this culture of fear. There's a lot of fear that educators feel. And when you feel fear, that reinforces things remaining as they are. Change requires courage. And I want you to talk to people about the fears that you faced and how you overcame them, how you found that courage to speak up, and maybe the fears you still feel.
So, I mean, I am a teacher in Horry County, and as president, part of my responsibility with our vice president and other people on the executive board is to meet with Dr. Maxey in our district office, and I will honestly tell you it is terrifying. Every single time I have to send an email, every single time I have to say something, or I need to go in and I'm like, I really need to be candid with you. This is what's happening. It is terrifying. Like, I am not scared. I am very scared, actually. And here's the thing though. Number one, I'm still here and I've been doing this a while. And number two, like, you have to push past that, because if no one does, who is going to?
Right.
And you have to push past that and know, number one, that you have people backing you. So that my voice became 1,000 times stronger when I knew the SCEA was behind me, and
Mm.
I knew I had those people that I could call. And I'm still scared and I still have that fear, but I have people that I know got my back. And I think that you have to push through that fear. For example, we have a lot of times I get a lot of messages where things are said in passing in the hallway and they're not appropriate. And I always say, you need to send a follow-up email. So the protocol is, per our conversation in the hallway, you stated da, 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 da. I wanted to make sure that that I am clear on what you said. And that just in itself is super scary, but it puts it in writing and it holds administration and people above you accountable. And that's where the fear shift changes. When you have to hold those above you accountable for their actions, then the balance shifts just a little bit, just enough for you to be like, oh, I can do this and this is okay. And I think one of the main things I try to just remind myself is that I am standing up for what I know to be right. What I feel in my heart is what should be happening in schools, how teachers and paraprofessionals and all of the people should be treated, and all of the things. And I am speaking for all of these people who don't feel like they can speak. But
Right.
what I think my main goal as president is to create not a million, but 1,000 little fires all throughout our district. I want 1,000 little fires of little Coris everywhere, so they know that they're okay. They have that security with the SCEA, and they know what they're doing is correct, and they just continue to push through that fear and fight that fight, because until we do that, status quo is gonna stay. And I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not cool with status quo.
Right.
So
I think, I found in my career that if you really think through like what you need to say to an administrator, to leadership, and you're not going in highly emotional, like, just, you have a very sound, logical case to make about a policy change,
mhm.
and you sit down and you talk about it with an open mind and without like saying, like, being accusatory, just saying, just, it's kind of like going back to this thing like I statements, like, this is what's happening
Mhm.
objectively, this is what's happening, and this is how it's landing on me and some of my colleagues. I
Right.
mean, and I think if you articulate it that way and make it really clear that this is something that is impacting a lot of people, and there, I think that sometimes they're at least willing to listen to that. And
Hmm.
then sometimes there's a reason. Sometimes you need to hear the reason why the policy is the way it is. But there still is this important, I think what you're getting at, which is this importance of the collective. When you're the only one in the building who's saying it, it's easier for the administration to dismiss. If
Right.
everybody collectively comes to sort of co-signs what's being said here, it's much, much harder for them to dismiss that. I'm not
You're
saying they
right.
won't, but it's a much heavier lift to dismiss. 80% of the staff is or the faculty is thinking this way on an issue, and we really would like to see some change here.
Right.
We have the power. There's more of us than there's more, classroom teachers
Mhm.
than there are administrators. And they need us. It's not like people are beating down the doors to get into the profession where they're beating down
Yeah,
doors trying to keep us in the profession. We
that's
have the
right.
leverage, we have the power, but it's much easier when you come together and, like you said, have a union behind you. And there's only one of those in South Carolina.
Right. And I'm gonna talk about the union in just a second, but what I want to say is I try to tell people, like for example, when we go to board meetings, I say, I or anyone else can stand up in front of our board and we can speak to the board. And if I am the only person there, or maybe there's just a sprinkle of people behind me, it's not going to make an impact. If I am there speaking, and there are 50 of us, my words hold 50 times what I'm talking about,
Mm,
right?
right.
So it's just they don't even have to say anything. They just have to be present and know that, hey, guess what? We're listening and we're paying attention. Same thing at the state level. Like we can go there and one person can speak. And if you have 200 people behind you, that's 200 fold that you're getting from that one speech. So that's I think is super powerful and something that I don't think South Carolina in general and Horry County really understand. And you mentioned the union, and I was actually talking to my husband about this just a little bit ago. That I don't think people realize that we are a union, and just because we cannot collectively bargain in South Carolina does not mean that we're not a union. And they don't understand that they have all of these rights. They have voting rights within the union. Um, they can elect a new state president. Like there's all of this stuff that goes on within our association that people think that they're just joining, and but there's so many levels to it, and there's so that's me. There's so many levels to it that people really don't understand. And that's another one of my goals, I think, as president in Horry County, is just to educate people because I
Right.
didn't know
Right.
until I joined the SCEA and got very actively involved. Like I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's been almost like intentional. There was this
Yeah, it's
idea
definitely
to
intentional.
vilify unions for a long, long time. The idea that, I mean, we've seen it with Governor McMaster just in his State of the State is spent the majority of that speech
Hmm.
attempting to vilify unions, and and it's like he's like I forgot exactly what he said, but it's because of the state of the unions or because of our unions that we're here where we are. And I'm sitting here thinking, we're in a right to work state. He's doing everything he can, and other organizations have historically tried to suppress unions in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And it's so even people who are supposed to be pro education have attempted to gaslight teachers to say, no, drop your union, that we don't share their values, don't be a part of the NEA. And yet we've seen what's happened to our profession over the past 30 or 40 years since that's been happening, the degradation of the union, and we've seen what's happened to our profession. We continue to be overworked, underpaid, and more is being asked of us. We have less and less planning time, and our pay is not even keeping
Hmm.
up with the rate of inflation. So it's like, Yeah, when you vilify unions and when you convince people to drop their unions, you're convincing them to drop the one thing that they have to fight back against being exploited. And what you've been doing so wonderfully, and I think what we've been trying to do as a movement, is to tell teachers you've got to claim the union back. You've got to come back to your union, because that's where collectively we can effectively push back and get the pay and the working conditions that we deserve, because that's what's happening. Teachers in states that are not right to work average about 20% higher pay and much better working conditions. So if
Right.
you're against unions, you're against that.
Right. So I think that like the question is why does our legislators in McMaster want to suppress unions? Like, and the reason is because they want their narrative.
Right.
They don't like our narrative. Our narrative is everyone deserves an equal education. Everyone deserves equal rights. They don't like that narrative. They want their narrative. And so if they are able to suppress our voice and squash us as much as possible, then their narrative can flourish and
Right.
it can thrive. But what needs to happen is, like, we have to, as a state, Horry County is a small part of South Carolina. We have to find our narrative to be more valuable than theirs, and we have to scream it because
Mm,
they're super loud, right? Like, that's all we hear about. We hear only about what they want to do, and we have to be louder than them. That does not, however, because I want to say this, it does not, however, look like walking out and striking, because we can't do that. So it's got to be almost like a behind the scenes kind of thing. You have to work locally so we can work with our school board, so our school board can take things to the state, so the state can take things, to our legislators. So it needs to be um it it's not as seen as much, I think, as what their narrative is. And so it almost makes us feel like we're losing. And that's not the picture I want people to see. I want people to see that we are coming together. There are a lot of people. We are growing very quickly, and we are going to do this. It just may not look like what you think it should look like.
yes, because to build something that's sustainable and that actually works long term, it's not like Miracle Grow, and you all of a sudden you got Jack and the Beanstalk situation. It's one seed at a time. It's getting building reps at every school,
Right.
and then those building reps finding more members at every school, and then getting together and meeting at each school, and then coming together district wide and the statewide. I mean, it's organizing from that ground up, which takes work, but it requires. And for anybody who's watching, who's at a school building, and you don't have a representative for your union, reach out to Cori, reach out to one of our Uniserve directors, to Brandy, to Alana, to Melody if you're in the upstate. And you can become a building rep and start leading right where you are locally. You don't have to wait on someone to come and swoop in with a cape to save you. Like, you actually stand up in your building. Cori, talk. I know we've run out of time, but the importance of having a building rep at each building, and that organizing that needs to take place locally.
So, with having a building rep, as president, I am able to. We have Zoom meetings every month or so. Sometimes we skip a month, like December, and we have local gatherings. And as a building rep, your job is basically to work with the members in your building and to gain membership, because the more people you have with you, the bigger your voice is, right? So, building rep, job, I lose that word loosely, is to work with the people in their building and work with me. And so what happens is when you have a building rep, in your building, and the building rep calls me or sends me a message and says, this is what's happening collectively. What should we do? Here's my members. Here's what's going on. And then I go, oh, well, this is what you should do. You need to send an email. This is how you draft that email. Everyone, is on this email, and always come with a solution. Like, have a solution first,
Right.
and then you handle it within your building. And a lot of people are just simply terrified to do that. But the more people you have, the stronger you are. And like you said it earlier, like, there's a lot of times like where administration doesn't really even know that this is an issue.
Right.
And so we're terrified to tell them, but they didn't even know it was there. So you have to take that step and that initiative to do it. And then, so that's what building reps do. And then they come to me and we work together. I had a Know Your Rights training. I think it was last weekend. Just talking about what our rights are, because I get a lot of questions about what our rights are. So that would be a building rep, thing. Just having all of those people, it's like a spider, right? Like a tree. Like, those multiplication trees, like those multiplication trees that all come up to the top. So that's the multiplication tree. Like, we have all of the building reps, and it goes to the school, and it goes to the president and the state, and then we're all the way up.
And that's where the power comes from. That's
right.
In a sustainable structure, that's how power works. You can't just have an association with some top dog at the top doing all the advocacy work. They can't do it all. You can't do it all, especially on a shoestring budget. You've got to have it come from, it's got to be the people. It's people power at each individual school. And folks need to understand, it's not just classroom teachers. Like, when you're a building rep, we have folks, you go talk to the bus drivers, talk to the cafeteria staff, talk to your custodial staff, the front office staff, talk to every professional in the building about being a part of the movement. They may have issues where they need some leadership in terms of advocacy. And sometimes those people end up being those support staff people are the leaders in those buildings. So they're a tremendous resource in terms of building that power that you need at each individual school. Before we go, is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to talk about, like anything coming up, any events you want to promote for Horry County Education Association members?
So we have an event on February the 10th at Grand Strand Brewing Company from 2 to 5. There's going to be free appetizers and live music. And today, actually, I'm wearing my 100th day of school shirt. It's the 100th day of school. So our event is We Survived the 100 Days of School, which is no easy feat, I understand. So that's on February 10th from 2 to 5 at Grand Strand Brewing. And we are in the middle of elections right now. And I've been trying to get members to realize that they can elect. Like, we have a vice president seat open. We have delegates for NEA RA and state RA. And I also understand that a lot of members don't know what that means. So that's why, we're here, so we can answer those questions and explain how those things work. Because like I said, I think that a lot of times people don't really understand what they have. So those are the two, very first ones that I can think of.
A lot of people don't understand the importance of that NEA membership and the potential opportunities it provides to travel and to connect and network with teachers around the country, and to go to really cool conferences and things like that. So
it's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I want to just say thank you, Cori. Thank you for your leadership. You've been leading for a while, and you've been, so courageous in stepping up to stand up for your fellow teachers. And even when you're not thanked enough for it, and sometimes criticized for it, you fought through that. And I really respect that. And I think a lot of people see that and respect it and appreciate it. And I think it's probably, for me, like, there's probably dozens of other teachers out there who've never told you that, but see it and appreciate it. And I think you inspire a lot of people. So thank you for leading at the local level, and for everything that you're doing to lead here in Horry County and really across the state. So
thank you.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Well, Ronnie, I said hello, and I hope
I will.
hope you guys have a great February, and I'm sure I'll see you again soon.
All right. Thanks, Todd.
Take care, Corey. That's Cori Porter, the president of our Horry County Education Association, doing an amazing job. Thanks to Ronnie for tuning in tonight. Jess and Kathy, who says you're appreciated, and Brandy, who is the UniServe director here in the Midlands. And that includes Horry County. Brandy's doing a great job taking over for Keneal Cornell, who did a remarkable job as well. Just thank you for tuning in tonight. I do want to talk about a few things that are coming up. Talking about democracy, this is really important. So if you are going to vote, the Democratic primary is on February 3rd. That's this Saturday, and the Republican presidential primary is going to be on Saturday, February 24th. So please make sure your voice is heard through your vote. Very, very important. Again, I want to thank our cool coaches. They are in Minnesota talking to other affiliates about the amazing stuff we have going on here in South Carolina with our Cool Induction Institute started by Dr. Marcella Weinsnyder. But if you would like to do cool coaching, most Tuesday and Thursday nights from 6 to 8 p.m., they do one-to-one coaching. It's free coaching. And you just go to the website and log in and go into a Zoom room, and you go one-on-one with a coach, and you can ask them about the things going on in your classroom, and it's all free. You do not have to be a member of the SCEA. We do prefer induction teachers to use this tool, but they're not going to turn you away if you're not an induction teacher. So if you have a question, check them out. And we also started something new called Dear Cool Coach. So if you don't want to go into a meeting, but you want to write them an email, you can find that on the Cool website as well. I want to promo this. Larissa Black is going to talk about AI tools next week, February 7th from 7 to 7:30. She's going to come on, and she's an expert on all kinds of AI tools. And I've already talked with her. There's all these tools that she's going to show that can help you save time on some of those mundane tasks, some of those things that maybe you're spending a lot of time on that maybe you could have AI do. And this is going to be amazing and really practical resource for you. And I hope that you'll definitely check that out. For those interested, we're going to have an educator mindfulness retreat. The first one on the 12th through the 14th is just about sold out. I think we have one space left. If you go to cool.us/retreat, you can find out more. I think we're going to open up a second retreat for June 26th to the 28th. So monitor that page for that coming up soon. And just to put this on your radar, July 11th, we're going to have a trauma-informed education workshop with Karen Beeman and Jennifer Dollar. They're from Columbia College's Master's in Trauma-Informed Education program. And it will be a whole day. We'll provide lunch for you. This is going to be free for members of the SCEA, and I think it's going to be $40 for non-members of the SCEA. But that leads me to this. Why aren't you a member? If you're watching this, you're not a member of our movement. We want to encourage you and invite you to be a part of our family, to be a part of the only teachers union in the state of South Carolina. You can do that if you look at the screen, at the bottom of the screen here, scrolling across. The website is jointhescea.org, or you can text the word join to 48744. We want to have you in our movement, just like Corey, just like Ronnie, just like all these other amazing people that are leading. And we need leaders. We need leaders at the local level. And so many amazing things have happened. I've seen Cassie Owens Moore, who came on and was a part of our movement a couple of years ago, and now is already president of her local association and doing big things on the national level. We have Pete Stone in Chester doing amazing work. So if you feel like you're ready to lead, you're ready to not just sit on the sidelines and watch public education under attack and doing nothing about it, you're just fed up with that, here you have a home here. You have a home here. Just go to jointhescea.org. We'll get in touch with you. One of our UniServe directors will get in touch with you, and we can plug you in and get you going and get you leading immediately. And, if it's a financial part, I'm telling you, there's so many benefits of being a part of a union with 3.2 million members nationwide. The NEA member benefits, all you got to go do is go to neamb.com and look at the insurance benefits, the credit card benefits. Like, I get 3% cash back on all my online purchases through my NEA credit card, and I got a $200 cash back bonus for signing up. And that pretty much paid for all of my dues for the years. And that's just that one benefit. So there's all kinds of travel discounts. All that's cool. And I don't like sounding like a salesperson, but like there's if it's finances, you can find a way to make it work if you take advantage of all the benefits. But it's really about joining a movement with other educators and really rebuilding our union, because it's unions that gave us 8-hour workdays and weekends and child labor laws and on and on and on. Workers will be exploited without unions, period. Workers will be exploited without unions. You saw what happened with United Auto Workers. They came together collectively, they fought for better pay, and they got it. If they said, no, we're not going to join our union, we're just going to join this Auto Workers Association and get cheap insurance, and we're not going to be unionized, would they have gotten that increase in pay? No, that's not how it works. You have to have teeth in the dog, because you can bark all day long. If you don't have teeth, nobody's going to be scared of that dog. And it's time to put teeth back on the dog. And the way we do that is joining a union, strengthening our union, building our union together. And then we put teeth on the dog. Then they will listen to us when we bark. So join the SCEA.org. I hope that you'll do that. Love to all of you. Happy Black History Month. Let's talk about Black history all year long, though. And I hope you have an awesome start to your February. Love you. We'll see you next week with Larissa Black talking about AI. Until then, enjoy the end of your week and have an awesome weekend. Take care, everybody.